Well, we're going to start out tonight in Lubbock, Texas, and we'll talk with Craig. Hey, Craig, what do you got for us tonight, my friend?
Hey Andrew. Hey, I was listening to a Grace teacher on he's fairly regular on TikTok, but he was going over James 2, and his take on James 2 was that it was Christians, born again believers. They're not lost, but they're not fulfilling a purpose. As you know,
Hmm.
faith without works is dead, kind of thing. And I was kind of
Okay.
maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. So the reason I don't think so is because of James chapter 2, verse 14. Can that faith save him? So we're talking about two kinds of faith in James 2, Craig. The first kind of faith in James 2 is dead faith, and the other kind is living faith. You might say it another way. There's two kinds of faith in James 2. There's faith that saves a person, and there's faith that doesn't save a person. And so, what does that faith look like that doesn't save a person? Well, James says it's like the demons. You know, the demons can pass a theology test. The demons can answer that question, is there one God or many gods? And they would say, one God, one God. And so they would pass the theology test. They know their spiritual facts, but demons are not saved. Demons don't have living faith. Demons don't have faith that saves. And so, what he's saying here in three different ways, he says, what use is it if someone says he has faith but has no works? Can that faith save him? Now, what's he trying to say with works there? Does he mean that, oh my goodness, you got to lead the lady across the street and you got to give $1 million and you got to go to church enough and pray enough and then you'll get saved? No, he doesn't mean that. What he's saying as he defines works in this chapter is, number one, he uses Abraham as the example. He says, wasn't Abraham saved by works? I mean, look at this, verse 21. Here it is. I'm not making this up. I mean, this is right here in James 2. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered up Isaac his son on the altar? All right, so just imagine that. It took about 20 seconds, and Abraham grabbed his son and hoisted him up on the altar. Now, I got a few questions about that. How long did it take? 20 seconds. How many times did Abraham do it? Once. So you're telling me that this is not about Abraham lifting Isaac up on that altar every day, every week, every Sabbath, every this, every that? No. It was a one-time response to God. God said, here's the message I have for you. Trust me. And when Abraham, well, I'm sure he was sweating. And I'm sure he was struggling emotionally to put his son up there. But when he put his son up there, he was saying, I believe you, Lord. I believe you. I don't understand you because you're asking me to sacrifice my firstborn, but I believe you. And so, you know what? That's faith. And it's faith expressed in a moment on an altar. You see that? Faith expressed in a moment on an altar. It is a responsive faith. You can call it a work if you want, but it's not like a work of the law, okay? Anybody that says it's like a work of the law, they don't have a clue what they're talking about, because when Abraham was alive, there was no law. The law came in through Moses much later. So the first example here James gives is Abraham offering Isaac on an altar. What does that demonstrate? It demonstrates living faith, faith that is alive, faith that trusts the Lord. And what James is trying to say is that is a faith that saves people. So what you're hearing from whoever that is you're hearing a different message about this passage. I mean, they're basically trying to spin it as, well, this is about Christians who lose their usefulness, or this is about Christians who lose their focus, or this is about Christians who lose their light before men, or something like that. But that's not what it's about. It says, what kind of faith can save a person? This is about salvation. It's not about life after salvation. This is about the kind of faith that is genuine, the kind of faith that saves a person. Now, let's get to prostitutes, because Rahab comes next. And here she is, right in verse 25. It says, "In the same way was not Rahab the harlot also justified by works when she received the messengers and sent them out by another way?" All right, what does this have in common with the other example? Well, it's identical, okay? How many times did Abraham put his son Isaac on the altar? One time. What did it take? 20 seconds. What did it involve? Faith in God. It was a response of faith. Now, look at Rahab. How many times did she open the door for the spies? One time. How long did it take? 20 seconds. What did it involve? Believing the Lord and trusting Him. It was a response of faith. So, I have taught on this for 15, 20 years, and people misunderstand it. They say all kinds of crazy things about it. But, everything I'm saying about James 2 is exactly what Jesus said. They came to Jesus, and they even used the word works. They said, "Show us the works of the Father." And he said, Jesus said, and I quote, "The work of the Father is that you believe in the one whom He sent." So get that? The work is to believe. Now, what am I saying about James 2? I'm saying the work is to believe. And there you have it. So Rahab, her so-called work, as James describes it, that's not my word. It's not my pet theology. That's James's word. He uses the word works here. So what is Rahab's work? It was to believe, and she opened the door in response with faith. What was Abraham's work? Well, he offered Isaac. Why? It was a response of faith. Now, does that sound familiar? When you and I got saved, what did we do? We heard a message from the Lord, and we responded in faith. You might say we opened the door, like Rahab. We opened the door of our heart to Jesus. You might say we offered ourselves, like Abraham offered Isaac. We said, "Lord, take me, save me, crucify me with Christ. I don't need an altar, but I need a cross. Kill me, Lord, make me new." And so that's what a response of faith is, and demons can't do that. And that's what separates us, true believers, from the demons. We have a living faith. It's not just a theology quiz. We have actually desired Jesus, and we have actually responded to Jesus, and we have called upon Jesus to be saved. So, Craig, I want to put you back on and see. Does that make sense of the passage, my friend?
Oh, absolutely. That was my thinking. That's why I called, because I was like, no, that's not right. That doesn't sound right at all. So.
Well, that's exactly what happens. When you get to know the love of God, the grace of God, you get that discernment, Craig. And so when somebody says something weird and it stands out, you'll know. You'll know, because God's Spirit lives in you. You're getting your mind renewed. And some stuff just sounds odd. So I'm glad you called in tonight. It's a great one for our program, and look forward to seeing you there in Lubbock real soon. I'll be back in a few weeks and hanging out with the Grace Church, West Texas. Good talking with you.